you how to become a production SQL database administrator. My name is Raphael. In this next series of video courses now, we're going to be concentrating on SQL Server Reporting Services Part 2. Part 1, which is a prerequisite to Part 2, was primarily concerned with how to create reports. In Part 2, I'm going to take you into the management of SSRS, and we're going to be talking specifically about the security of SSRS, the permissions, how to deploy reports. In Part 1, we actually created reports, but we never deployed them. So how does the end user look at them? In Part 1, you were primarily in the development environment, which is used by administrators and not the end user. So in this part 2, I'm going to be showing you how when we deploy the reports, the users can see the reports you've created and interact with them via the web portal. So I'll be showing you that. So make sure you note that this is going to be concentrating on management of SSRS, and part 1 is a requisite. So I highly encourage you to do that. But before we even get to that, or to talk about the table of contents that this is going to be dedicated to, I want to obviously take a few videos in installing SQL Server 2016 Enterprise Edition. And then I'm going to have a video dedicated to installing the SSMS installer and then the data tools. And this time I'm going to do some, when we talk about installing SQL reporting services, I'm going to be talking about how to manually configure the SSR report configuration manager rather than doing it automatically. Now, one thing to note, and look at it, I've posted in red. If you've already installed in Part 1 the SQL Server 2016, you do not need to install this. This is primarily done, I'm doing this, redoing this if you will. It's because for those students that may be aware of SSRS and basically want to understand the management of it, and they have not necessarily installed the Enterprise Edition. So I'm going to go through these videos installing it, but again, if you've already installed SQL 2016, you do not need to install it, and you can skip to the next few videos where I indicate. But for those who have not installed it and then want to understand the administrative side of this, copy this and dump it in your website here, and this is the site you're going to get. So the first thing we want to do now is install SQL 2016. So when you get to this page, click on Try Now, and you'll get this page. Then click on Download. Now you may need to sign in, and if you do, you need to register. So go sign in, and you do have to register. So I'm going to register. I've already done this, but I'm just going to go through this step by step because there are some students who are still having a difficulty in understanding some of this stuff. So I want to make sure that they're getting a clearer indication of how to do this. So now you'll have to register, and I think I've already registered. So my data will be loaded as it is, and there's my email if you have any questions. So just go and email and go continue. And you'll get this evaluation. Just save it, and that'll just take a split second. Now, when you get this, right click and open a container that is downloaded. You can notice that this is the pathway and your downloads that will be installing. So make sure your pathway is user. Yours will be different because your name will be different, but that's where it'll navigate. Then let's just double click this. Go yes. And you'll get the Server Evaluation Edition, slightly different, even the one with installed last. You'll have 3 options: the basic, the custom, the download media to save as a file. You can look at the custom, select custom type, and go through the installation. So let's choose this one actually. Now you can go through either one if you want. Install them later. You can do either one. Let me just look at this for a second, see if that's the one I want. This is the SQL Server Media. And one thing I want you to know is if you do this one, it'll save as an ISO package. And that's fine. If you want to save this as an image, then what you have to do is extract this image and then utilize this or mount it. Now, when you've extracted it, I would highly recommend what I did is as following. And I want to go over this a couple of steps because you'll notice here in my drive, I have SQL 2016. And what I did is I downloaded the drive, I downloaded this ISO image, and then what I did is burn the software to a DVD, not a CD, but a DVD because it's a larger thing. So the system that you will use depends on your operating system. I'm using Windows 2000. I'm using Windows 10 operating system, and when I burn the system, mine is a different application that allows you to burn DVDs. So when you go to the image, when it's downloaded, let's download this first. But actually, I'm going to go back and let's choose this one. Let's see if this one works for us. So this one may work for you, and I'm trying to do different evaluations because of the thousands of students that I've had, I think maybe 2 students had a difficulty in understanding this and extracting the data. So let's try this version here. It's going to go to your C drive and it's going to dump this. Go install. And that's just going to take a few minutes. And what it's going to do while it's installing, it'll take about 5 minutes. I'm going to pause this video and when we come back, and then we'll take it up there. So once this package is installed, we're going to take a few minutes to go over what you need to do in downloading this SQL 2016. So you'll get some of these examples here, but don't worry about them. So while that is downloading, I'm going to pause the video and come back, and then we'll continue doing this also. So I'll see you in a second. And we're back, and as you can see, if I go to my C drive here, go to downloads, once you clicked on that, it migrates default to C. So if you go to C, this is the folder that is created, SQL 2016. If I click on it, click on the evaluation, and this is the setup now. So this is the easiest way that I found you can create this. I think Microsoft just created this thing because just a month ago, I didn't have this process where you had the option of only downloading the ISO. So for those of you having difficulty in installing the ISO and extracting files, I think they've made it easier here. So now that we get to this stage, let me minimize this. We're ready to install SQL 2016. So the first thing you want to do is just double click it. Now, as I said, I've already installed one instance, so we won't be able to name it the default MS SQL, but that's okay. That's not a big deal. So this will pop up. It just takes a split second for the setup window to pop up. And let's continue this, and there we go. Let me make sure I'm recording, and we're good. So now this is the option that you'll get if you haven't installed it. For those of you who are familiar, again, you don't need to worry about this. The first thing we need to go is go installation. Then on top, you'll see new SQL standalone installation. Click on that, and then the window will pop up. Now, SQL 2016, for those of you who don't know, obviously, it's a slightly different version and a higher scale version than the previous versions. And what I mean by that, now they've installed SQL Server Management Tools we'll have to install separately. And then we'll have to install the data tools for the reporting services and the integration services and so on. So that'll be in the next continuing videos. For this one, we're just going to install the SQL standalone. Select the evaluation, go next. Accept the terms and go next. Show detail, that's going to go fast. Now, I would highly recommend you do this. It's the service product, so make sure you check this and go next. Now, you do need to be connected to the internet, so make sure you do that. Now, this process, again, may take a few seconds or a few minutes, I should say. And what I'm going to do again is pause through this. This will only take about 2-3 minutes, but it's pointless users waiting. So I'm going to pause this video, and when this finishes, we'll continue with the next step. So let me pause this, and I'll see you in a second. And we're back, and as you can see, this is the next video you'll get after the updates. So you'll see a firewall indication warning, so don't worry about that. Everything looks great. Go next. Just choose perform a new installation. You'll notice already I have an installation called MS SQL Server. So if you have a system where you have not installed SQL 2016 at all, then you won't see anything here. But however, I've already installed a MSQL Server instance for testing, and that's why I'm getting it here. So if I go next, and this is what I'll need when you're talking about the installation features here, what I want you to do is select all, then I'm going to uncheck a few. What I want you to uncheck is Polybase. Uncheck that right now. Uncheck the analysis. Uncheck that's fine. Uncheck SharePoint services with SharePoint. We're not going to be sharing with SharePoint. And uncheck this. And then the rest is fine. This is what we need right here, reporting services, but we do need everything. So just go next. And we're going to go to the default settings and default directories for our purpose. And that is fine. So let's continue with this. And just look at the prerequisites for those of you not familiar with this. I'm assuming now that by the time most of the people that have taken my courses are familiar with this environment, so this will become easier and easier. This is what I mean, that if you had not installed a previous version of SQL, then you'll get default instance here, and it'll be called MS SQL by default. Since I've already installed one for testing, we have to name something dissimilar than the default. So we're going to actually call this reports, because that's what we're going to be talking about, and go next. And the instance will be called reports, and that's fine. But again, you can call this whatever you want. That's not necessarily you have to follow. But this is going to be based on reports and SSRS, and that's fine. So we get to the next screen here. I select this and go automatic. We do want the SQL agent to be run automatically. The rest is fine. We want the integration to be going. We want the reporting services data, and the rest is fine the way it is. Go next. Add the current user, and we're going to use Windows authentication, and that's fine also. Go next. Now here, for those of you who have not taken the courses or have taken the courses, this is a slight difference. Previously, for those people who have taken the courses, we let the SQL instance do this for us, where we install and configure the SSRS. In this particular case now, to demonstrate for those who have not taken this, I'm going to click on install only, because I want to manually, this is what I was talking about here, manually configure SSRS. And the manual configuration is basically the securities, the emails, the creation of databases, report temp database, and so on. And I want to illustrate that because no one's seen that, even the previous users here. So this is the reason I want to select install only. Generally, I would go here and install it and let the system do it. For demonstration purposes, I want you to use the install. So install only. Go next. Add the current user. Go next. Go next. And just accept this. This is just the consent form for accepting the our open NAS distribution, and that's fine. Just don't worry about that. It's just a licensing thing. We do need to say yes to it. Go next. And now we're ready to install. This will be obviously a summary window of what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to click install and then pause the video, and then when we come back, this should be good. When we come back, we'll start with another video of installing this SSMS tools. Then after we figure that, we'll start with the installation of data tools. So we're going to have 3 videos dedicated to the primarily installation. Just go install, and that should take about 15 minutes to do, and barring any problems. As I said, I've already installed an instance just to test it, so everything went smoothly. So what I'm going to do is, when this finishes, I'll resume and let you know it's finished. And then I am going to reboot the system. And you need to reboot the system. And then I'm going to continue after the rebooting the system with this video. I don't want to do it here because I'll be kicked off with my teaching session. So after this completes, we'll come back, we'll reboot, and then we'll start with SSMS installer. So I'll see you in a second. And we're back, and as you can see, the installation was successful, and you must restart your computer after the setup is processed. So what we're going to do is just make sure, scroll down, everything succeeded. We've got a SQL Server installed, 2016. And now what I'm going to do, obviously, is after this session, is I'm going to reboot the system. So you need to reboot the system, and then we're going to come back to the next video, and we'll pick it up installing the SQL SSM tools. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to close this, and I'm going to close the video, and I'll see you in the next video when we're installing the SSMS. So see you in the next video.